Oh man.
Hello, everyone. My name's Hank Setala,
And I'm Dr. K.
and we're here with another fun episode of Holistic Highlights. Welcome, everyone, for part two of Death, Dying, and What Lies Beyond. And I was hoping to have a special guest on today, my friend Angie, but she actually was booked solid for readings, but she's going to be on in a future Friday episode. She's a registered medium from Lilydale, and she has a ton of great stories. So I'm looking forward to having her on. But we're doing part two today of Death and Dying.
Mm-hmm. And I don't
And
have
there's
my
Dr. K with her
Halloween
boring
shirt.
background.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
I'm
doesn't
like,
have a cool
I don't,
background. She doesn't have a
I
cool shirt.
know. I just realized that it's been an interesting week. But yeah, the Halloween shirt will come on tomorrow for sure because it's my favorite holiday. Imagine that.
But
Um,
this is a last minute thing. I happen to have it out because I used it for something else. I'm like, oh, I'm going to throw that on, throw on a cool background. We got to get Dr. K a green screen too.
I
But
do.
this
I'm
is
gonna get
being,
one.
I know I did start uploading these to iTunes and things like that, and we already have quite a few downloads. So if you also are catching this and you want to just catch the audio version, you'll be able to download all of those from my website, hanksetala.com, and they're going to be ending being on another website in the near future just for ease. But that's where you can get them now. Everything uploads to there.
Yeah, awesome. So, gosh, bummer that we don't have a special guest because the afterlife is a very interesting thing that we don't have a whole lot of answers for. At least our average minds don't have a whole lot of, you know, information about, yet we want to know about it. What's going to happen? How painful is it going to be? How are we going to transition? It's all these unknown questions that we have that spark our interest. And I
Or our
think,
fear.
or our fear, I think a lot of people are fearing death. I think people, we hang on, like we talked about our last segment, we hang on to life dearly. We are attached to people, places, things. And I don't know a ton about the afterlife. I've talked to some mediums. I have some knowledge of the bits and pieces that I have that some individuals, if they depart life too soon, maybe with a tragic accident, or um, maybe even they just weren't quite prepared, then they sit in this state between this physical existence and the um, wherever that is. I think, to my understanding, there is some place in between right now where we're at and the afterlife, whatever that may be. We don't have the answers to that. Unless you have things you want to
No,
mention, Hank. I don't have
well,
answers.
with Mary Ann Winkowski, she does a lot of work with this. When a spirit has a traumatic death, and there's a whole TV series based on this. It's called Earthbound, and
Yeah,
there's a series called The Ghost Whisperer, which is based on Mary Ann Winkowski, who's a local author, a New York Times bestselling author here, and she works specifically with ghostbound spirits. But that's when there's something that happens that the part that makes you you, that's unique while you're here on this earth, gets tethered somehow or won't go beyond a certain point for whatever reason. And that's what some of the work that I do in shamanism is you help to transition those spirits from one realm to the other. But a lot of that's a really, for me, I know it comes up for Marianne all the time because point of view creates your reality, and she focuses on that. So she draws a lot of that stuff to her. I don't have that as many occurrences of that with the people that I work with. I find it for me that it comes up a little bit rare, but everybody has their own experience. But usually there's family members waiting, or there's other people. I guess a person transitions, people that they know or their guides or teachers like there to create the space to hold for them to do a successful transition. So it's not necessarily, something that comes up that often.
Yeah, and I think we discussed that book, and I actually pulled it up on my phone. I was kind of looking because I haven't read through it all yet by Anita Morjani, and I think that's a great book for you to get because she has experienced the afterlife with a very severe bout of cancer, and she describes everything to detail, and even more so, what we need to change as we transition and why she popped back. So I'm gonna spell it for you here. It's a really great. The book is called Dying to Be Me, and her last name is Moorjani, Morjani, Anita Morjani. It's a
Moorj. What was the last part?
Moorjani.
A and I.
Mhm.
Okay, so I will
It's
put that up as a banner. Oops, if
yeah,
I
it's
didn't double click the button.
Dying to Be Me, My Journey from Cancer to Near Death to True Healing. And so she really discusses this whole, I haven't gotten through the whole book, but it's amazing. She really discusses this whole piece by piece, what happens when you're actually kind of going unconscious, when the world, you start to feel this break from reality, and the world, she said, becomes much smaller. It's almost like you start to fade. And she describes this in detail to the point that you kind of get to the other side and the family's waiting for you. But she was told to come back. And when she came back, her cancer was completely cured within 24 hours. It's amazing. And now she's written a book, and Dr. Wayne Dyer was the forward in it. He said, you need
Very
to tell
cool.
people about this. So she, when she transitions to the other side, she discusses how every time and all of that become an illusion. Everything's happening at the same time. And she said,
Hmm.
there's so much peace, and you can see exactly why and what you needed to heal in your life. And so it's a really great book to teach you to start doing that now. Don't wait until you get to the other side to start healing your soul, to start healing your body, to start doing all these life lessons and physical lessons that you need, because we always talk about both run hand in hand. Your physical body is very much intertwined with your soul, and they run hand in hand. So if you're not feeding yourself good things and you're not taking care of yourself, you're hurting your soul a bit too. These things, are working together. So this is your vessel. Take care of it. So she really discusses, all the soul lessons that we need to learn, how to be better people and how to see life in a different way, and understand that a lot of things in life are an illusion. So we get down these rabbit holes like we are on now with the elections and getting closer and closer. And I'm going to detour a little bit. It's energy I've never seen before in my life. Like, just people stealing each other's signs. People are so angry. So I bet, go ahead.
No, it's just ironic. Someone stole my little robot mower this morning or last night. I don't know which.
Did you have
So
Biden
you're
written
talking about
on it, or
no,
Trump?
no. There's nothing. There's nothing to do with elections. But you talk about people stealing things out of front yards, and like my little robo mow is gone. God rest his
Uh-oh.
soul.
Oh,
But it was just kind of ironic because they're picking up next week anyway, and it just disappeared today. Anyway,
bless
totally off
whoever's got
topic.
it. But I have had every single client come into me this week and saying are things weird. Things are really weird. My friends are saying things are weird. They are weird. We are in a very large state of division right now. It is instilling a lot of fear. It is instilling a lot of anger. And I find that you're running down that rabbit hole. You have the choice of not doing that. Please don't turn on the TV and put yourself in that energy. It's like going down that slide. You just start going down, and all of a sudden you're all tangled up, and you're going to feel weird, and you're going to feel angry, and you're going to feel uncomfortable. You have the choice not to feel that. You really do. And to be your own individual and to be the divine being that you are. And that's really what people need to know. This election is really, it's like nothing I've experienced. The energy is not like nothing I've experienced in my life before. And one of my clients told me that her friend said that with COVID, she's never experienced something like this aside from when the AIDS epidemic happened. And once they figured that out, I was really young then, so I just don't remember. But it's a very similar energy. And once they figured that out, it kind of settled. But we're in for a little bit of a haul, guys. I'm predicting, and this is just my intuition, I could be way off, but about 2 years until this kind of like really settles, where we're like, okay, this kind of water under the bridge. I mean, countries are closing, numbers are up in Ohio. I think we're in purple now. I'm like,
Right.
but it's not, it makes no sense. It really doesn't. So,
And just to loop that back in, what we talked about this last time with the pandemic and everything, and so many people dying and everything, it's caused people who might not think about death or dying until a much later age kind of have it on the radar and to start to think about these things way earlier. So there's been no other time where people that are much younger can really think about this death, dying, and beyond, and doing things now that would help to make the most out of the next phase of existence and things like that. So really, it's an interesting combination of energies, but no
mhm.
combination ever before has created this much awareness and
Yep,
consciousness in the human
yep.
species.
And
So in a
that's,
way, we got to
yeah.
be thankful for COVID, creating opportunities via intuiting divinity, right?
So Hank and I are trying to bring awareness to everybody, as many people as we can, because I think some are on that level of awareness, some are not, and choosing to dive into the fear and choosing to dive into the anger, that is hurting your body, guys. It is hurting your body. And a lot of people are transitioning right now. A lot of pets are transitioning right now. I was on Facebook yesterday for literally, I was on 3 times for about a minute each of those times. Each time I saw somebody else, like my grandmother died, my pet passed away, 3 pets have passed away. So it's like they're feeling the energy and it's chaotic. I had my pet at the clinic this weekend and I talked to the vets there and they said, we've been busy always, but this is a busyness like we've never seen before. And they already have alerts on national levels across the board, the veterinary business, how the level
Hmm.
of emergencies are so high right now, like they've never seen before. So these animals pick up on energy. We're getting way off topic, but animals pick up on energy way quicker than people do. So not only are they picking up on the collective conscious, everything going on in the world, they're picking up on you in your home yelling at Trump. So, or Biden or whatever it is. They're picking up on that anger, and you better believe that they are going to react to it. So they're trying to teach you things. And when they're done, they go on to their next existence as well.
Just a couple of
So
comments. Well, one Facebook user just saying, agreeing that the energy is freaky. There is a link in the description of the video that will give StreamYard permission for you to share comments, so we would actually know who you are, mysterious Facebook user. And then we have Anne Marie also tuning in, just saying, glad to know it is not just me with this energy, and an
no,
upside down
it's
smiley
not.
face, which is very significant. Because in shamanism, we call what we're in a pachakuti, which literally means world turned upside down. So that little upside down smiley face emoji is quite perfectly placed.
So yeah, so it's just really, I'm telling all of my clients to double down right now, meditate as much as possible, get back into your awareness, get back in your body, because we are out here like, whatever we're doing. So I even have to double down because it's, we're still human and we have our programs as humans. And so I'm finding myself to really have to be more grounded than even usual. So this is what's going on, guys. But the afterlife is something I think we fear. And I think this book is great to describe that. And what are we all afraid of? I think when you start gaining awareness that you're a divine being, you don't get so attached to life. Over all of my work, I have found I'm less and less and less attached to things, people, places. It's I used to be like sometimes at a 10, like I'm so attached. And now I'm more of at a 2, like, okay, at first it kind of gets me. And then I'm like, no, I don't, it's okay. If I don't have this, great. If I don't, I have a few lessons I'm working on, but we all are. So, um, yeah, so I think
One other thing on the pets, how many people get pets to help with stress in their life? And are their pets actually taking on our stress? Is that how that works? I'm not saying it works that way, but with you mentioning how many pets are sick all of a sudden, I have to wonder, like the people who get a pet to help medicate themselves with stress, how much of that stress is actually being transferred, not in all cases, but some cases, to the animal.
the pet will do one of 2 things, and I've taken an animal communication course. I'm not an animal communicator. It's challenging when you want to communicate with your own pet. You have to be so clean and so clear, but if you're worried, you're not going to hear what they're saying. It's going to be very challenging. But when you're pets will do one of 2 things. They will either mimic your behavior or do the opposite. They are trying to teach you something. We have soul connections with our pets. Yeah, it's fascinating. So Danielle McKinnon actually talks about this. She's great. She's young, she's spunky. She's developed a whole animal communication school that you can run through her whole program. I've watched her from when she first started to where she is now, and it's amazing. So that really helped me. I can tell you, if you have pet lovers on here, that really helped me to understand pets do a certain thing. They plan their death. They know who's going to be there. They've predetermined this. They know who's going to be there. They know how they want to go, um, what manner they want to go. So know that if your pet is transitioning, they've already planned all this. Sometimes they need a little bit of help from you to move to the other side. And sometimes they'll do this thing where they they look really weak and they look like they're about to go, and all of a sudden they get this energy, and the owner is like, oh my God, maybe they're getting better, and maybe I shouldn't put them down. To transition into the other life, and this is all like based on what I've learned. I don't know this for a fact, but with Danielle and her class, when they're about to transition to the other side, it takes a really big oomph of energy to get to the other afterlife, whatever we want to call that. So sometimes they will pull up a little bit of energy so they can move over, because it's kind of like that push in the butt to just get to the other side. So if that happens, you just want to be aware of that. But don't ever feel guilt that you didn't do the right thing, that you euthanized, that you didn't take care of them. They know what they're doing way more than we are. They don't care about what's going on TV. They don't care about the stock market. They don't care about the day that you've had at the office. Their main goal is to teach you what they need to teach you. And after they're done, to teach you as much as they can. They will either run away, they will pass away, or they'll find another home. One of those three things. So that's tidbits on animal afterlife or on animal
Yeah.
afterlife. But it was
I have to see,
fascinating.
maybe Diane, just a couple days ago, I had made a referral to someone for a pet communicator, and Diane Wyman actually wrote a book called A Tale of Hope, I believe it's called. And it's about how animals will also sometimes reincarnate and come back to the same
They,
owner, and you'll
they
find
do.
another dog that has the same personality and things. And that's just a microcosm of what happens with humanity, because we have the ability to come back and have different experiences, maybe not in the same lifetime as others as often. But all that is just like one example of how it works in a lot of different areas of the universe, at least in my thought. And we had Doug mentioning that that's why he doesn't watch the news, to save his
Perfect.
dog's life.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
And
Thank you for
Angela
that.
checking in, but she likes my screen behind me. I know if you're listening to this on iTunes or whatnot, you can't see it, but behind me I have a green screen, and I got this cool little cemetery thing with a nice jack-o'-lantern.
Oh my
And she
gosh.
was also saying that cats communicate through eyes. And isn't that the truth? If you look at a cat and it like hones in on you, I don't know how to say it exactly, but there's like a cat just looking around, and then that's when they like do that thing
Mm-hmm.
that they do, and it's like just a telepathic beam that's like, get me this, get me that. And I don't even own a cat, and I get this from cats, like, don't mess with me. Like you get this communication almost that they are able to funnel to you through their eyes. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, here's the other thing. Animals communicate through telepathy. They yes, they speak, but what I learned is they will look at another cat and say, I'm about to jump on you. I'm about to chase you around the tree. So if you watch very carefully their interactions, they're already sending that message to the other animal, whatever animal that is, and then it happens. You got to really be quiet and aware and watch that. It's fascinating. And animals have a huge gift of seeing the afterlife and beings that are stuck here.
Yeah.
So if your cat is focusing on a certain area in your home, this is a whole conversation about animals.
I know we're gonna have to change the topic. Oh, then I got a
Yeah.
story from Casey and his cat that I'll tell in a minute.
But if you have a cat that's fixating on the staircase, or they're fixating on, a door, or they walk around something, or they act really funky in the middle of the night, yeah, it could be thyroid or some medical issue. Get that checked out. But if you don't have a logical explanation, a lot of times you may have a being that's stuck. Like I had somebody at my house that was brought in, and he was harmless. The gentleman was a war veteran that passed away, but he liked to sit on the stairs, and they would just always stare at the stairs. And I'm like, there is something going on. And after I had him helped him move along, there was the energy definitely changed in the house. But you'd watch that they would fixate on the stairs, just stare at the stairs. So just these are little things to just start noticing. So anyway, you can tell
And
your
then
story.
and this is on an episode of another podcast I do called Stir Crazy Shamans. Me and my friend Casey were um, sharing the story on air, where my family and I were having a cookout, and I had found these vegan marshmallows because I had to find ones without gelatin, and I'm looking everywhere for them and I can't find them. And apparently Casey had asked one of his spirit guides to go mess with me, and like they were in the most obscure place. We did finally find them, and then afterwards I'm like, well, I'm going to mess with him back. So I have this one spirit wolf named Moogie, and he has this cat. So I say, hey, go mess with this cat tonight. And he tells me in the morning that his cat, it was all fun, but his cat was like just going crazy, like chasing things around the house, like jumping up on his bed, pouncing on him, and like just running away. Like that whole night was just like crazy for him. And then, so I'm just saying this to as an illustration of how cats do see between worlds and can see spirit people and spirit guides. And then what would it be like if you used your relationship with your cat or animal as your own cue to tune in? So you see your cat or animal, okay, well, what's going on there? Don't just ask, really open yourself up. What do I know is happening here? Because we're an infinite being, and they can just give us a cue. Hey, let me tune in and get a little bit more information about what's going on here. And maybe that's one of the things pets come to teach us is, they have this awareness that we don't, and they can help us cue in on when we need to tune in to that need to know channel to make a different choice or to know that something's about to happen and we can prepare for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Danielle McKinnon has a book out. I think it's called Soul Connection. I have to look that up.
Soul
But
Connection by Danielle McKinnon.
Danielle
I'll see.
McKinnon, she's the animal communicator. Um, so it's all about animals incarnate in this lifetime to help our soul. That's why they're here. It's the whole saying of who rescued who. We don't a lot of rescue companies look at like we're rescuing the animals. Yes and no, the animals really kind of rescuing us because they're helping us learn a lesson, helping our soul learn a lesson in this lifetime. I will share one of my experiences. I had a cat that animal lessons. Yeah, yeah, those are all her. I think the
Yeah,
center
so the
one.
three. Okay,
Yeah,
so
those are her
soul
three. She was the
contracts.
Soul Contracts. That's what it was. Soul Contracts. That's a great book if you want to learn more about your pet and your soul contract with your pet, because your pet has a contract with you. And when it's done teaching you what it needs to teach you, they go. And so that's one thing to just keep in mind and know when they move on, they're kind of done. The trick sometimes is to know when they're ready or are they in a moment where they're needing to teach you. So I had a cat who I loved, but I moved from one home to the other home. He was an outdoor, 8 to 5. He'd come home at 5. But when I moved to my new home, it was much busier here, and so I didn't let him out. And so I felt the resistance. He wanted to go out. He was clawing at the door daily. I'm like, no, bud, you can't go out because it's too busy. He threw his back out purposefully and I knew this lesson. It was very clear. And I went to numerous vets. Thank God I have a wonderful holistic vet who got him fixed up for the most part within 4 visits, and she's amazing. Debbie Decker, she's just amazing. Um, and so I felt the resistance. And this came down to very clearly, I was told, you either let me out and get over your resistance of fearing that something's going to happen to me, get over your fear of trust. This was a trust thing. And I started letting him out, and he was good. And I had him for another 3 years after that. But I knew in my heart, the second I got past the trust issue, he had taught me what he needed to teach me and he was going to go on. So this is the challenge. Like
Mhm.
there is no like fighting it because they will continue to push you until you learn what you need to learn. And once they're done, they probably at some point will move on. So sorry
And I,
guys, I just kind of
no,
jumped on
yeah,
that.
I did post the a link in the comments, but it didn't look like it went through. So I did put it up. If you're interested in the book we were just talking about, it's at daniellemckinnon.com/store. I have it up on the screen now, or I'm sure
She's
you could just
great.
Google it. Yeah,
And you can
and
find her online too and go on some of her webinars. You'll learn so much. It will put you more at peace with your pet.
And this isn't my story. This is a story from Dr. Dane here from Access Consciousness. He loves horses. And Gary Douglas, who's the founder of Access, had this one horse that no one really could ride. And him and I forget the horse's name, but him and Dr. Dane, they just had a connection. He was able to get on him, ride him. He ended up buying him. And then as Dane gained popularity as a best-selling author and everything, he started doing a lot of traveling. He was barely home, and his horse started getting really sick. And he finally had the awareness that that his companionship with that horse, that was part of that connection, and not having it was part of what was getting the horse sick. So again, just another example of how our energy and the pet's energy are intertwined. And maybe that was his way of put on notice that he needed to slow down and travel a little less until COVID happened. Of course, now he has all the time in the world to ride the horse. But really, like, what are our pets trying to teach us? And maybe we just need to start asking that question and being in a creationship with the pets instead of just having this, it's just a fun thing to have. There's really a whole wealth of information
Oh,
and
a ton.
exchange that can happen between us and our pets.
But this all comes back down to what we talk at every episode, gaining awareness, being in quiet. People have such a hard time being in silence. I love silence. To me now, silence is divine. Like I just love silence. I don't turn on the TV. My house is super quiet. When I feel like it, I turn on the music, but I typically don't even, right now, I don't even have music going because it's just what's going on, and I need to be able to hear right now. When we have too much noise in our heads, which is for everybody, because we have too
Especially
much
if you have
noise,
kids.
yeah, and everything going on in the world right now, everything. We
Yeah.
get into Facebook, down that rabbit hole, Instagram down that rabbit hole, TV down that rabbit hole. The mind is very noisy. You will not hear your intuition strongly if you have this much noise going on inside your head. You have to have absolute get comfortable in silence. And I'm finding a lot of people are not comfortable in silence.
Well, and there's a reason for that. It's on topic, off topic. One reason that some people have such a resistance in meditating is it's not just about tapping into the silence, but to get to that silence, into that place where it's like that higher vibration. Everything that doesn't match that vibration starts getting shimmied to the top. It's like heaving boulders in the wintertime. And so people start to go to meditate. Oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to get my peace and calm on. And then all of a sudden it's like they get more anxious and they get more agitated. And the reason is all this stuff just under the consciousness is starting to come up, and the brain goes, I don't want to deal with any of that. And it starts to deflect. And it's like, well, I need to go shopping. I need to go do this. And it starts to deflect, but stay the course. I think we've said that a lot on the previous stream. Stay the course and just get that 5 to 15 minutes of meditation in to start. And you will get through all that and find this place where it's just,
Absolutely.
peace
That
and
is so
calm.
key, Hank. That is so key. And you know what? Go to a park. That will even help you. The trees are so grounding. Nature is so grounding. It will help that not be so tense because people try to do it in their house, like when the kids are asleep. But then it's like, oh crap, I got to do this and I got to do this.
Or
And
you wait
yeah.
so long you fall asleep by the time you get to it. And Angela, she has the similar thing. She has 3 kids. I have 2. Can they come with you, live with you, Dr. K? That would help my
No.
peace.
No.
No, but I will give you an analogy that really helped me because, well, fortunately for me, I developed a practice of meditation before kids. But one of the things that Mark Thomas from Fellowships, he's one of my meditation teachers, he would say that meditation is like when you go to the movies, right? And before we had all these advertisements on the screen, when you first get there, the screen was white. And he said that the white screen represented the silence, and then pointed out that when the movie starts and whatever illusion and chaos and drama you see on the screen is still white. The silence is ever present, even in the midst of any chaos that you're perceiving. And that was a great analogy for me that as I started to have kids and everything, I remembered that analogy and I was able to find the silence, even with the crying baby, even with the tantrum in the middle of the store. It sometimes is still challenging, but if you can notice that you're slipping into that reaction and whatever method works for you for anchoring to bring yourself back to that state of peace and calm, you can shift out of it no matter how many kids you have without having to send them off to someplace else.
I didn't mean that to you. I'm like, they can come visit, but I have to have my silence right now. I need to be able to hear. So yeah, for me, it's tiny little distractions and my brain's already going to the next level. And I seem to really get a lot of downloads on Fridays and Saturdays. It just starts because during the week, it's like anybody else. I got to do this. I got to figure out what I got to do for this person. And the brain's just going. When some of that moves out of the way, you start to hear better and you start to get those answers that you need. And given with Halloween, the afterlife, the veil is really thin right now. Maybe you can speak on that more, Hank.
Well, there's a couple different theories on that, but well, I'm of the point of view that the veil. Well, there's a collective consciousness belief around the veil being thin. So to some degree, there's a greater propensity for communication and things on Halloween. But the other part of it is we all just have this awareness, more awareness around things. So we happen to notice things more. We're looking for the communication more. That communication may be there 365 days out of the year, but because we had the point of view that the veil is thinnest and this is the time that I can get a message from my grandma or whatnot, that's when we have it. But you have the ability to receive information from the other side all the time. It's just that we have this, we pay attention to it more, is my opinion on uh, on Halloween and things like that. Just my take on it.
Yeah, we have a lot going on. We have a full blue moon,
It's a blue moon.
do you know much about that? I don't really know much about blue
I
moons.
I know about the astrology cycles in general. Like the blue moon for me isn't as special because we arbitrarily pick a calendar that has all these crazy number of days. And there used to be on old calendars, your months were 28 days long, and you would have a leap month every once in a while, but you followed the moon cycle. So there was never like 2 moons in a month. So, but we give it extra meaning. So, like in terms of intentions and things of that nature, there's an extra potency because of our perception that it's more rare. So you can absolutely use it. But moon represents past emotion, and I don't know what sign it's in or whatnot, but it is going to resonate something in you from childhood or from another lifetime that's deeply seated and needs to be healed. So I'll give an example. You have your lunar return, or the collective consciousness goes on the full moon, and you have this illumination of a past problem that you didn't handle well. And so you have that illumination in the next part between now and the new moon, there's an opportunity to re-anchor the energy. So say you were bullied on the bus. Now you have this awareness that, oh, my boss giving me a hard time is a reflection of this getting bullied on the bus when I never stood up for myself. And instead of not standing up for yourself when the moon gets to that next 90-degree increment, you can do it at any time, but that's when the energy is ideal. You have the opportunity to anchor it differently so you can stand up for yourself, go to HR, quit, or whatever it's going to be. You're not following the same pattern, you can break out of it. So the moon is a representation of this constant cycle from our past that we have the opportunity to become aware of and choose differently.
Right.
Now we're going to astrology, which I know you weren't going there, but that's all I know about the moon, so I had to go to astrology.
But it's all part of the
It is.
afterlife with our conversation, because with Halloween, this very rarely, I guess, happens where you have this blue moon, we're turning the clocks back. All we needed to be is like Friday the 13th, right? and Halloween, you're having all, this is why things are so weird right now. Um, and the collective consciousness is really, all of us are really revved up. So just, there's a lot of people just fearing death right now and the transition. And this is where it's all spiking. And like I mentioned last session, but where do you stop living because of the fear? Because a lot of people are not living their life and they're locking themselves up because of the fear. You're going to transition at some point anyway. I can't tell you when, how that's going to be. My question was during the week to the universe was, why did God pick such, why don't we just get born and there's some stamp on our hand that the year September of 2020 we're going to go? We could live our life so much better, because there's this uncertainty. We don't know. But why did the universe pick such difficult ways of transitioning? Like primarily it's disease that majority of us leave. Very few of us die in our sleep and don't wake up. We just that's like my weird question to the universe of why does it have to be so difficult? Why does it have to be painful?
Well, I believe it's because we choose it.
Yeah, it could be.
Well,
Yeah.
there in the book's Conversations with God, it says the only will of God is your will for you. And as odd as that may sound, like our whole reality is woven from what we choose and what we don't choose. And some of those choices, like how many people that die from disease are not taking care of themselves? How many people that are in those situations to completely cut off their awareness and go through life pretending that they're separate from everything else, where in fact we're all part of the same animated essence. And those types of things, what you're choosing and don't choose, just manifest physically in different ways. And I think we choose it. Maybe we just love
Yeah.
trauma and drama. Look how addicted we are to a reality TV show. We wouldn't die any other way.
Yeah, I mean it's true that there is, I've read this too, that when disease started, and I know this is weird for a lot of you, or maybe not, you would say, why would I choose that? But unconsciously we start choosing that because there's so many different reasons. Um, because of the trauma and drama, because if we're sick, we get something, and then it's just this weird thing that starts happening. But it would be nice if we have had this ideal world of we just, we get a stamp of September 2020 is when you're going to go, and we just die in our sleep and we just disappear that way. It would be nice
Gonna bring up
because,
Angela's comment. Oh, I'm sorry.
oh,
That was getting it. But she says life is a journey. This first part is like that's really what it's all about. The lessons along the way, it's our choice what we do with that journey, whether you want to create more possibility for yourself or if you're going to have an experience and you're going to turn away from things. But it's all about the choice, and we have the choice to navigate our ship in life however we like. But the journey is a journey. And there's a great example of this in the movie Peaceful Warrior. Don't know if you've ever seen it. There's the main character has this huge injury, and he's getting kind of nursed back to health spiritually and physically by this one gas station owner. He called him Socrates, I believe. And he gets all excited because this one day they're finally going on this big spiritual adventure or whatever. And they walk up this big mountain. He's like, "Oh, here it is." And he picks up a rock and he just throws it to him. Now we can go back. He's like, "What? What was that?" He's like, all this hype. We go up this huge mountain, and then you tell me this is what we came here for. That's it." He's like, "It's about the journey, not the destination." And then they go back, and it was just like it was like one of those moments in the movie where it's like, oh, they get people so good because it frames it in a way that it is about the journey. It's about the experience in and of itself, and not where you're going with it necessarily. Mm.
yeah. And I'm sorry, Angela, I'm going to call you out, but Angela's an old soul. I feel that from her. She's been around for many, many years. For those of you
Oh,
that believe in past lives or don't, she's a very wise old soul. So she's my best friend and she's great. So yeah, she with the kids, she manages like nothing I've ever seen before. She is
Oh,
always
so she's not a
cool,
complete
calm.
stranger wanting to drop her kids off
No,
at your house. In
no.
context, that makes so much more sense now.
Yeah, she's always cool, calm, and collected. Like I would never be able to do that. It's probably why I don't have kids, not in this lifetime. Had them in last lifetimes, but not this lifetime. So not my lesson, I guess, this round. But yeah, she has a lot of wisdom. So it's, she's probably
I was just
commenting.
laughing at Michael's comment. I will journey to the kitchen, Hank. Well, good. Michael's searching bear. He has the most amazing. I will show one because I happen to have it here. He makes these Native American flutes, and this is a drone flute. Plays two different notes, and they are. I have three of these flutes actually, and they are all amazing. So if you're ever in the market for one, you can Google Michael Searching Bear. You can find his website, but absolutely amazing.
Awesome.
Okay, so free shout out for you there, Mike. I love it. And but Angela was saying that, for instance, life is too short for rose or even cheap wine, for that matter. Absolutely,
Rosé.
rosé. Oops,
You didn't catch that.
I don't drink. I've been sober for like 12 plus years. I'm out of my drinking lingo.
Yeah,
Nice
live your
commercial.
life. Live your life to the fullest now, guys, because your time, she's right, your time here on earth is only but a sliver in the timeline. It feels like forever, but it's not. Look back. Have you ever had this experience where you're like, it feels like I was just 10 yesterday? Time is an illusion. We've created the clock, we've created days, we've created years. It's really an illusion, and your time here on this planet is so short. So the more you can gain an awareness and the more you can be in a peaceful space, the better. And our brains do get the best of us sometimes. The ego gets us many times. We're humans, but the more you can gain awareness, the more you can keep your energy clean and clear, the easier your transition is. And there's no doubt in my mind that Dr. Wayne Dyer, he died in his sleep, I think at 70, I think he was 75. Um, but he was in so much peace with himself that I bet he chose that way, that manner of exiting. And it would be nice if we could all do that without the drama and trauma, without the fear.
And what if we do choose it? We just are choosing it unconsciously now, and the more aware we become, perhaps we have more more ability to shift how we would like to die consciously. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the huge fear we seem to have as humans from the dying, the experience of dying, is really scary for a lot of people. And it doesn't have to be. This is why this work is really important to get you to that level of awareness because suffering is actually a choice. It's fascinating. You don't have to suffer. Pain is there. That doesn't mean you have to suffer with it. That's a choice.
Yeah. And that's where the book that you mentioned before, Dying to Be Me, as well as like one of the book, two of the books I had mentioned, line the last stream were Beyond or Embraced by the Light, which is all about a near death experience, and Home with God, A Life That Never Ends. It's a book by Neil Donald Walsh. Read some of these books just to get a flavor for it. And then through your own meditative practice, see if you might have an experience, because that's where the shift really happens around the fear of death, dying, and what lies beyond, is because you have a moment, even if it's just for a second, where you have a knowing. From a meditation or from an experience in life, something happens where you just have a knowing and you don't fear it anymore. And it's just like, yep, it's just another part of experience, which you can label however you like. It doesn't have to be fearful or traumatic or dramatic. It can just be. But
Yeah, and COVID doesn't have to be a fear. There's so much fear around COVID and the pain that people experience. I think people, they're hearing the amount of pain people are going through with COVID and they don't want to get it. And so you could get it and not even get symptoms. You could get it
right,
and go. And then if you do go, then it was your time to go. You could get it and yeah, it might be uncomfortable, but there's huge fear with COVID, huge. And
right. And we only hear the worst of the worst on the
yeah,
news too.
yeah. So I know one person that actually had it, but she is a smoker. She is a bit overweight, and she said it was pretty painful. But if your lungs are already so clouded, then yes, you're going to have a harder time breathing. It's so take care of your body. That's the best. Now is the best time. This is the other message that came through that I wanted to say is now is really the end of this and next year is really a time of huge change that's going to be happening. It's really a time of getting to the next level, cleaning up what you need to clean up in this life and getting those soul lessons cleaned up and getting your life to a better place. It is a huge time of manifestation and recreation and getting on a better path. It is a perfect aligned time for that. So keep that in mind. If you're on the edge of something like, man, I really need to take care of my health. Man, I really hate my job and I've been at it for so long. Now is the time to start making those intentions, start making those decisions or whatever you want to call it to, all right, I'm going to do it this year. I'm going to go on to that next step. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to really work on cleaning up my health. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to go after that dream that I wanted. I'm going to get out of this job, maybe even get out of a relationship that's really toxic. Now is the time. The energy
Yep.
is in that realm that it's going to be easier for you to do.
Yeah.
So don't resist it.
Instead of doing the coulda, woulda, shoulda
Could, shoulda.
game, start choosing. And I use the analogy of like rowing the boat. You put out to the universe, I really need this or that or this or that, and the universe starts to actualize it for you. But it's the only one rowing. You end up rowing in a circle. When you start actually doing the work along with the universe, it can happen so much more quickly and with ease. It doesn't have to be 20 years to get laid off. You could just choose differently now if you'd like. So it's a
Yeah.
whole different mindset. And I do like the word choice as opposed to decision. It's a, I know, word nerd type thing, but the reason for it in Access is the word decision is in definition and conclusion. And they look at that word, the energy of the word, to be more limiting than you just make a choice, which gives you an awareness, and you make another choice. Where decision, sometimes people choose and then they stick to it and they don't give themselves permission to choose differently because they're in definition and conclusion. So just throwing the nerd word, my spin on words
I
things
don't
out there.
disagree. So yeah, choose differently. Choose differently with this new year coming up. Choose to stay out of the fear. Choose to stay out of the anger. You don't have to get down that funnel. And COVID will pass. Like I said, just what I'm hearing, it's going to be about 2 years. I don't know if that's from, I'm feeling like it's from the start of when this happened, but maybe it's another 2 years. Who knows? I don't, it will settle. So things are funky right now. We're just going to have to do our best to double down, meditate. And I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing with death and dying is the nursing homes because we as humans need interaction and people are leaving this planet alone. And that's really sad to me that they're not, that's where the numbers are highest, that people are really enclosed and they can't visit with their family. One of my friends had, he lives in Ontario, or no, Saskatchewan. His mother was there, and she's older and she's got dementia, but they put her obviously from her home into a long-term care facility. They quarantined her without a bath or anything, just a sink for 14 days. And she, poor thing, was trying to find a key, like, let me out of my room. They allowed family members to come in briefly and visit. The staff left, whatever their hours are at the end of the day. So for 14 days, she was quarantined. She just wanted to take a bath. On the 15th day, they let her out. She took a bath and she passed the next day. So this just tells you what this is all doing to people and the energy that it's sending.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of people are moving off the planet right now. And that's how I label it. Not dying. Dying's a very heavy word, like death. It feels so
Transition.
transition. People are
Yep.
transitioning. They don't want to be here anymore, or maybe they're done. It's fine. It's okay.
No, we mentioned that on our last stream. I had read an article about just the mental health of a lot of our seniors in nursing facilities without the regular visitation of family and friends, just were in a much greater decline in general. And then, so what's more dangerous, getting COVID, or having dementia, Alzheimer's, and not even being present for your final time? I know that's a whole nother topic probably that we could throw out there.
Yep. Next topic for next week is pandemic exhaustion, is what they're calling it now.
Oh,
Life
so there
exhaustion.
really is a topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, cool. We'll do
Pandemic
that.
exhaustion, life exhaustion, but it's nothing new. We've already been dealing with it our whole life. It's been put in a different box now. So we're just not present. And so this is a time where it's really pulling up people's awareness and just really shaking you up so that it's like, come on, hitting you over the head. Look at what you need to look at in life. Don't sweep things under the carpet. It is time to look at them. And that's happening for everybody. And it's not comfortable. For a lot of people, it is not comfortable. Um, but yeah, so back on the
So,
afterlife.
yeah. And next week may be a part 3 to this. My friend Angie, who is a registered medium at Lilydale, is going to come out, and that episode is going to be about kind of sharing stories uh, of illustrations of how there's connections between this life and the afterlife. But I won't share them on this one. I have a couple of my own that we'll share on that stream when we have Angie on.
Yeah, and I just unfortunately don't have a ton. I feel things. I've never had a near-death experience. I know what we've kind of been told about the afterlife. Um, you see a bright light. Some people do, some people don't. Some people see family. One thing I have heard across the board, I'm sure everybody has heard that, is it is an extreme point of peace, and you're able to see that. And one thing I want to share with people that if you have had a family member that has passed away, and it's really, my mom used to give me a whole lot of advice. My dad, they were my best bud. They were my rock. One thing I can tell you for almost 100% accuracy is when you transition into the next life, you are able to see from your soul level down, and those people, your family or your brother or your sister or aunt or uncle, whoever it is able to help you in a much grander way than they were when they were here on this planet, because they're able to see what you need help with way more than they were in their physical body. So absolutely talk to them. Know that they're with you at all times. All we shed is our skin. That's all we shed. Nobody's ever gone, or they say passed away. We don't go away. Our essence has been, is, and always will be. And that's a challenging thing for I think that's a very challenging thing for the mind to wrap its head around, that we've always existed. Where we go, I don't know, but
Mhm.
do we re-enter? Maybe. But our essence, our energy will continue to exist. So the person has never left you. They are always there. They are there by your side. They can hear you. They can hear you, right, Hank? So
Yeah,
people want to know that. Like,
yeah.
does my
Relationships
mom hear
never
me?
end. They
Yeah,
just change
relationship.
form.
Right. They just
Yep.
change form. So don't be scared. Don't be scared of you leaving. Don't be scared. I'll share a little experience, and maybe this is not, maybe I should share it. I'll share it again next time. I can't help myself. When
Yep.
my mom passed away, I just felt, obviously it was cancer. It was challenging. I was very young, but there was still like kind of this weird stuff hanging around. And I had a psychologist friend who does past life regressions, and she's like, your mom is still hanging around. She's on your back. I'm like, oh, interesting. My mom, for sure, was very worried about leaving me And so she got stuck. I think she got stuck in this midst of wherever it is from this physical existence, this earthbound area. And so she was kind of hanging onto my back because she wanted to hang out and protect me just for that sake, because her attachment. So when the soul's attachment to whatever it is here, the house, the people get attached to houses, to antiques, to all sorts of things. If their death is too sudden, her attachment to me was so strong that I think she had a hard time transitioning. And so we had to detach her from me so she could move on and know that I'm safe. And I know she's looking out for me. There's too many things that have happened that I know were her doing. So don't be scared. Your people are always going to, whoever the family member is or pet, they're always with you. They've just left the physical body. And maybe your friend Andrew will have more information.
Oh
But to
yeah.
my understanding, a pet takes about 3 days to completely transition. And I think into 2 weeks, you're going to start asking for signals that they've transitioned. I don't know how long it is for a human soul. Do you know
It,
anything on
it
that?
it can vary. It can be instant. It can take some time. It really is. It depends on which belief system you look at. There's
Yeah.
things called the bardos, and you work through different bardos, and depending how quickly you move through these things would determine how quickly you get to the point where you're now in a place of choice and the communication is always possible at any of these levels, but it becomes easier at certain ones because we're like this radio receiver, and you can pick AM and FM really easily. But maybe a person in the fifth bar node, you need this one little frequency, and it might be harder to fine tune to that frequency. So the communication is always possible, regardless of how long it's been since they passed. But the ability to tune into that frequency that they can transmit is where some people are a little bit more. They have more ability in certain areas than others. But once they make it through all that, then oftentimes dream communication is possible. And then here's the other piece of it: time is instantaneous. So right now, if someone just passes, the part of them that's already through, you could communicate with that person, but oftentimes we have so much grief that it becomes impossible for us to be open to the idea that there's a part of them that was already past this entire time that we could have communicated with even when they were alive. So
Yeah.
like just really let your mind work on
The
that.
time trickery, the mind
It
trickery.
but that is like our whole experience with our ability to communicate with the other side is all based on these point of views. And what if you could talk to higher self grandma while she's still alive and get guidance? Because that is one little caveat I will say with mediumship is if you tap into Grandpa Joe, and Grandpa Joe was an asshole in life, and you tap into astral level Grandpa Joe, he's just as much of an asshole now. So you want to calibrate your tuning to their ability to communicate to, I'm talking about planes of existence now from metaphysics, and take them or leave them depending on your system. But you have astral level, then you have Buddhaic level, then you have spiritual, atmic, monadic.
Yeah.
If you can tap into monadic level, Grandpa Joe, that is like higher self. That's the part
Yeah.
that sees the golden tapestry and how perfect it all is and can give the best advice. And one story to hit this home, I had a client once who came because she wanted to know if her grandpa, this is where I get this from, she wants to know if grandpa approves of her boyfriend because she can't marry anybody that grandpa doesn't approve of, right? So the way that we learn at fellowships is you always tap into source first, get the answer, reinforce with spirit. So from source, it came through, this is your soulmate, right? So, but I didn't say it yet. So then I get Grandpa Joe coming through. Nope, nope, no, absolutely not. This kid's a joke, It's like, how is this happening? Because I was tapping into astral level grandpa, and nobody would have been good enough in the real life, like when he was alive. No one would have been good enough for his baby girl,
Yeah.
and that's how he felt where he was, where I was connecting with him in spirit. Had I tapped into a higher vibration of grandpa, he would have said, absolutely, that's a soulmate. So you have to just take it with a grain of salt when you do get information from loved ones. Is it loving? Is it honest? Is it selfless? Is it pure? Those are the things that come through from higher self entities. Yeah. But if it is fear-based or trauma and drama based, then chances are you may be communicating with the authentic astral level person, and they're not necessarily any better than when they were here.
Yeah. I think another topic is higher self, because a lot of people don't know you have a higher self. You have you at its best, highest existence. It's kind of up here, and you can tap into that at any point in time. That your higher self wants the best for you at any point in time,
Mm-hmm.
and you have access to all that is. You have access to any knowledge that you need, because the higher self can tap into that and bring that to you. People do not know how to tap into their higher selves, and there's ways to do that. I have little tricks, but I don't know if I'm going to reveal those. But there's ways
No,
to tap into the higher self.
sounds like there's a class in there, maybe.
There is. I have to save that for a class, guys. Sorry. But know that you have a higher self. Know that you have it's kind of up here. That's the best way I can describe it. You can tap into that space and it has access, and we have access to all that is. Any knowledge that you need in the universe, you can tap into. It takes a little bit of work, but and kind of a muscle building technique, but you have a higher self. And there are multiple planes of existence. And that's a whole other topic. Maybe we bring
Yep.
in somebody to
We could
talk
have
about
like
that.
a 20-part series of metaphysics. Well, I've studied esoteric
Oh, that's right.
everything.
You know,
Yeah. So the Alice Bailey work, I dove deep into that for years. It's like that's the stuff that you read the book and you want to just run your head into the wall afterwards. I mean, it's great material, but it is painstaking to get through. Like Treatise of Cosmic Fire, it's a book that big, and it's like one run-on sentence for like 2.5 pages.
Hank is a
That's
wealth of knowledge, way far
uh,
more. I have some and medical stuff, and I tie those two things together. But Hank has studied way more. I continue to
well,
study, so
that's why we got shaman meets medical doctor. I mean,
yeah. So yeah, you provide what I'm continuing to learn. So it's awesome. Good
yeah,
stuff.
it's a good combination. Just in closing, because we got about 5 minutes. So if you do have any last minute comments, now is the time. If you're watching this on a replay, still comment. We're going to do a part 3 eventually when Angie's available, so we can get to your questions and things on a future segment. But a great place to start with all this, if you are in the place of wanting to have a little bit more peace and calm and get rid of the fear of what lies beyond, is to have some energy work done. So this is a shameless transition to tell you about our energy clinic that we have on the first and third Mondays of every month over at the now to be called, as of November 1st, the Emergence of Being Center.
Yay!
Yay. Yeah. So the HHH Center is going through a shift, and we're actually dissolving that particular entity for the center. And I have a new thing called Emergence of Being. The website is emergenceofbeing.com, but I didn't have the right link for the clinic. So I'm going to have to fix that. But you can check out the new website, emergenceofbeing.com. But if you go to my website, hanksetala.com, under in-person events, there is a link to the energy clinic, and you can sign up. It's just a quick 15 minutes where Dr. K and I both work on you. I do a little sound. She does a little pranic healing, I believe, but we work really good in tandem, following her intuition. And Mark is usually our little spokesman, saying how awesome it was, but he had so much change in his life, he's too busy to be here with us.
Guys, there's been 2 miracles already for 2 people that we'll keep that confidential until we get
permission.
Permission. But we've had, within one healing, 20-minute healing for these 2 individuals, we've already had miracles, so that they weren't getting to before. In certain ways, you will get what you need, where you need to shift, but these are 2 miracles that people that needed to get past something and have already gotten past something. There's more to work on, obviously, but it brings joy to our hearts for that. So
yeah, and it's great to see that just in 15 minutes that can occur, because that's all that time we're asking for you. Suspend your disbelief for 15 minutes
right.
and see what's possible. But of course, if you held on to this long, you probably are in the camp where you know that there's something to everything that we're talking about. All right. So anything else?
Yeah, unless somebody has some questions, we'll try to bring in somebody more to talk more about the afterlife. Wish it would have happened today. Today's such an awesome day for it. That's okay.
It would have been. Well, she's so busy. She ended up having a class that she had translated into Chinese. And then this class has been circulating. And because of that, she has people are so aware of her in China that on Friday she has an interpreter and she does readings for people from China all Friday morning. Awesome. So she was already, that was the problem. She's booked out a couple Fridays. So she hasn't blocked out from her schedule a couple Fridays in advance. So it might not even be next week. It might be the week after, but we will have Angie on, and then we will be able to talk. Or the other thing we could do is just have an evening holistic highlights and have an evening broadcast. So, or maybe both. Maybe we'll do both, and we'll have slightly different topics or variations on a theme. But Angie's amazing. I met her when I was serving on the board of directors at Fellowships of the Spirit. We were both board members. We became friends, and we have continued to do these little co-creations back and forth.
Awesome.
And appearing on each other's podcasts and things like that. So she's amazing. Yeah. Cool. But thank you, everyone.
Halloween, everybody, and be aware.
A spooky Halloween. Yeah, stay aware. Don't be safe. There's nothing to be safe from in full awareness. If you're in full awareness, you can just choose things that are not going to lead to things you don't prefer. So be aware.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We will catch you next Friday, if not sooner.
Bye-bye.